How's it going, fellow morons? It is Dave and I here to do our quick, well, I'm not going to say quick because that might change very quickly, review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Forewarning, there's possible spoilers in the future of this, so yeah, you have been warned. So, I'm going to say 8.5 out of 10.
But we're going to go with his initial 8.5 out of 10 as the objective. I would trust his rating to be like a nice, good, average. General audience would probably agree with him. I am extremely biased and not good at giving good ratings on an objective whole. For me, it's like 11 out of 10. It's Star Wars,
Simply because it has the title Star Wars in it. Anything that has Star Wars in it.
Except for the Christmas special and the 2 or 3 others.
We don't talk about those.
That. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But no, I like the Star Wars movies so much that I always just go in knowing I'm going to love it. But no, it was a very solid movie. People going in, a lot of people said, "Oh, it's better than Empire," or "It's as good as Empire." And so,
I wouldn't say that quite yet. I'm gonna rewatch it again.
Times, to give it that.
To say that, but
that being said, though, it held its own. It took risks where it needed to take risks. It would have this way of making you think, oh, it's going to go one way without making you feel tricked, still go another way and make it be awesome, be worth it. You didn't feel cheated out of anything throughout the film. There were some real good, strong points. There were some clear, they were throwbacks, but it felt natural. It didn't feel forced, pun intended. And it was beautiful. It really was. There were some points that really got me going. I was on the verge of tears for half the movie, and I was in tears for the other half of the movie. So,
I really enjoyed it thoroughly. However, there were some issues that I had with some of the plot, mainly being kind of where the franchise is going for the most part. I think they kind of started leading in a certain direction, but pulled it in a totally different direction as well. I'm trying to stay as ambiguous as possible here, without giving it away. I feel like the franchise is going in a really, really solid direction at this point, because this movie is really leading them. Is really leading us in a.
I don't know.
Really, that's a text message. That's not them commenting. Just to let you know.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, that was just a text message. I got a text message and he thought it was a comment.
I did.
But I feel like they're really leading the franchise in a good direction to really hand it off to the next generation.
They're doing it nice and slow over the course of the movies, it seems like.
Well, they need to, because we need to grow up. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they need to. We're in training wheels. We're oh, my back. We're old Star Wars fans, and so we're like,
well,
you can let us go, but you need to do it easy.
Well, I'm more referring to the current generation, because our generation was 1, 2, and 3. Let's be honest. I know we were probably introduced earlier, to episodes 4, 5, and 6. But what came out during our generation was 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I feel like this is a pass off to the new generation. What would be our kids if we had kids. I curse kids. But I feel like they did a good job with that. And it was fun. They had a lot of really good humor in it. They had. The cinematography was amazing.
Oh my
gosh. Per usual. If Disney does a bad job, that's absolutely unacceptable. Sorry, Disney. Not sorry.
It was well done.
The plot was really well done. I like where they're going with it. However, they kind of lead you in certain directions. I guess you could take that as a plot twist, but, you know, there was some predictability to it as well. And I like how they are evolving the technology.
Yeah.
Because if you look at how the ships and everything are in the like episodes 1, 2, and 3, they're all sleek and smooth and clean. Then 4, 5, and 6 is this clunky, blocky, retro type look. And then they're going further into that. I feel like they're going into that clunky look more. Like if you look at some of the ships, the newer ships that they're coming out with, it has that same blocky look as the first trilogy, and getting further away from that smooth, streamlined look.
Yeah, with the exception of some of the, I feel like that's coming from like where they're getting their money, like physically within in the universe. Because
you're talking about like the First Order.
First Order, you know, their ships are still kind of sleek, and they're the ones looking good, and it's the Rebels, you know, they're like, I feel like they're just using what they have.
Almost like it's going into a post-apocalyptic kind of feel.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic galaxy.
Honey mustard. Baby, money for your honey mustard. I mean, for your onion rings, you want honey mustard?
Yeah, sure.
It tastes good to me. Honey mustard.
Okay.
Onion rings.
Yeah, thanks.
Brett's thinking chicken.
Onion rings.
So I could kind of see how that's going, because I haven't finished the game yet. I'm still in progress, but in Battlefront 2, it's supposed to be that transition from Empire to First Order.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played any of that yet.
So
I need to play that.
I haven't finished it yet, but that's supposed to be what it's supposed to be about. And this could be, you know, post-apocalyptic. Like there's no real government anymore. It's, you know, people just out trying to make money at this point.
Ryan,
what's up, Brian? He's probably not going to watch the whole time because he's probably afraid of spoilers. So,
spoiler alert: Rey kills Luke and turns to the dark side. Just kidding.
I mean, I actually, watching the previews, I kind of thought that was going to happen a little bit.
Yeah, I would just say that's the kind of stuff that I've been saying, because before I went to see it, that's what I was telling everyone. Mm-hmm. So I haven't changed what I've been saying.
They kind of gave that persona,
yeah,
that kind of feel.
But it has no weight. But seeing the movie tonight, it had no weight on what I just said. So.
Okay, here come y'all, baby.
Thank you. So, okay. Forewarning, this is probably where a lot of spoilers are going to come in.
Yes.
I was kind of hoping, honestly, that they were going to create a new Force user type cult. Because you used to have you had the Jedis, you had the Sith. What if, because in the movie they both say, "Oh, I see you turning away," or.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I see you. I see you turning into. This is good. Thank you.
Sure?
Yep.
Appreciate that.
It was. I see you. Like one of them said to the other, "I see you turning away, going, you know, to the dark side," and the other one said, "I see you going to the light side." And then it talked a lot about balance. You know, then you have the old Jedi text. And
I was really hoping that they would say, "Okay, we're both turning away, and we're creating. It's no longer Jedi versus Sith. It's something totally different."
But y'all recording? What y'all don't lie? I'm nosy. All of y'all shit.
I was really hoping that they would go towards like this medium where they create a new thing.
Yeah, like the Wills or something like that, or you had
Wills, yes.
What? The Wills.
I heard you. Yes.
No, the actual like. You know, the Journal of the Wills, like WHILLS or whatever it is.
You were making reference to me.
No. I really like the scene where oh my gosh. That was That was a really powerful scene.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It was like silent for a second, and yeah, that was extremely
I'm gonna
powerful.
be honest. I was really upset that everybody was like applauding at that point because that was
in our theater.
Like in our theater. I don't know about you. Everybody was like, "Yeah, woohoo, yeah," and I'm just like, "No, shut up. This is supposed to be an emotional point in the film."
Everybody quieted down a little bit after that and realized, it's something. So we did have a moment of silence while everything was turning white, and it was something we hadn't seen at all from a Star Wars film yet. It just completely blew me away. Everybody, my breath was just taken away, and the cinematography was amazing with that scene. Yeah,
I thought it was clever because, as you said, it's not something we've seen before. But on top of that, it goes with the physics of it, because you don't think these people have to plot, like when they go at light speed, they have to plot out where they're going to go, or else they're going to go through something and kill themselves.
Yep.
And that's exactly what just happened. Now, now if you're going to get really scientific with it, that kind of energy going into a ship, the whole thing would just explode because of how much power would go into it, just having that much speed going at light speed.
Maybe. Well, Star Wars was never been, the Star Trek. Star Trek being the more, this is science fiction grounded in reality. Star Wars still maintains sound in outer space. So I mean, they want to go with the fantasy part of it, and they really did a good job with it. But it also feels at the same time like it was that moment in particular was something that you would hear Star Wars fans speculate all the time, like
what would happen if
this, but also like, why did they have the Death Star be the most powerful weapon and also the thing that attracts everyone to it? Like, why wouldn't it have been secret? Also, why wouldn't it be better to divide it up into a bunch of small Death Star cannons? Well, you know what I mean? So there's all this stuff that Star Wars fans are like, yeah, but what about this? So wouldn't it just make more sense to do this? Well, it honestly just felt like one of those things that somebody would be like, well, why don't you just do this? Wouldn't that work? And it did work.
One of the things that they also did that Star Wars fans discuss all the time, who killed Han? Because remember when Force Awakens first came out, people were wondering, was that Han killing himself? Or was that Kylo killing him?
Yeah, true.
And they confirmed that was in fact Kylo that kills Han.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So I like the fact that they did that they didn't let that mystery kind of fester, but they actually confirmed it was him that did it.
There were about 4 or 5 different instances of dialogue that pretty much just it answered questions in a very clear way. And this is leaning into spoiler territory, but basically
we've far surpassed.
Yeah, it's basically like just try to give an example, with one of the end scenes with what Luke did ultimately. They brought it back to the characters and they talked about what we had just seen in essence, and it was like, this just happened. What does that mean? And then it said the other person, yeah, I felt that too. This is what it could mean, and so there were 3 or 4 different instances like that actually it was just so clarifying. It made what I saw on screen feel grounded and real, just as real as it is to the characters, as it became to me because of that. Them casually mentioning something, and it just gave a flow to the film that I don't think it would have had without that very important dialogue. Visual things obviously being more important to the core of any film, but that dialogue, it let those things flow and tie and ebb together.
That's always been a key aspect to Star Wars, is the dialogue, because when it first came out, there was only so much you could do graphic-wise.
Right.
So there was a lot more that they had to do as far as acting and speaking is concerned. But now this is part of the reason why I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. They didn't use practical effects like they did in Force Awakens. In Force Awakens, there was a ton of practical effects. This one, not so many. And I liked the combination. What did we just see recently? Or what did I just see?
Well,
What just came out? Batman. Or not Batman. Justice League. They did a combination of practical effects with cinematography, and it balanced out really well. And in this one, they didn't do that balance.
I feel like they did.
You think so?
I do. I think that obviously there were some scenes that had to be heavily one over the other. But just example, spoiler alert again. Frank Oz, returns to do the Yoda, and they use the traditional Yoda puppet. I mean, we're talking maybe the same Yoda puppet from the original set of Jedi and Empire.
I don't know. That didn't feel like a puppet to me.
It was an actual puppet.
Was it really?
It was the puppet. Yeah, it was not CGI Yoda.
Really?
I'm very convinced. I would be surprised if it was not, and if it was CGI. That was an actual Yoda puppet.
For me, it felt like CGI to me. That might be just because they added the aura around it.
Yeah, I think. Well, obviously the blue aura would have been CGI, just like it was actually CGI in the original as well. But no, it was the Yoda puppet. They also, even if it was CGI, they still dialed it back to the original look and feel. But I'm convinced it was a puppet, and it was something that Luke could see and was touching and stuff.
And honestly,
Y'all got right. I can give y'all a
no, you're fine.
video on accident.
No, thank you.
Feel cool?
Good, thank you.
I'm really glad they incorporated that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Yoda could tell that Luke was not going to make the right decision at that point. Because you could see he was walking up to the temple, about to burn it down, and he's changing his mind all of a sudden, literally as he's walking up to it. And Yoda knew he's going to turn around. I'm going to have to finish this.
It was also an indication, too, of what's possible as a Force ghost, because I never really got a feel from episode 5 and 6 about I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine, but then we don't see it. They just kind of show up and they're like, let's dialogue as ghosts. And the dialogue didn't really seem all that powerful or intimidating. I mean, it was effective. It's a good way to train and stuff, but seeing, then we saw Yoda do something really awesome in this one.
And this is the first time we're seeing someone as a Force ghost use the Force in real life, too.
Yes.
Because normally they just kind of show up, and that's pretty much it.
They use the Force actually as an entity that had basically died.
So I like that they did that.
Yeah. And it really brings a solidarity to the differences of when different Jedi die. Because we've seen them actually, just talking about the original films, the first time we get to see the lightsaber used to cut someone's arm off, and we kind of see like it has that effect, that burning effect on their arm.
Cauterizes the arm.
And the next time we see it used is, like that would be with Obi-Wan, but it's like he disappears. And there's other Jedi, even in the prequels and whatnot. You see them die, and they die in different ways, and it just seems like that whole disappearing thing isn't like a true death. It's almost like a merging with the Force, which that it wasn't spoken aloud in the film, but it still was. It brought clarity to, okay, they are actually still there, and maybe they haven't even actually died.
They've just ascended to a higher form of living.
It's almost like they just have such a deep understanding with the Force kind of thing, and like the natural next step for a master. Because obviously, and we've seen it now twice between Jedi and this movie, they can come back and continue to train. And it was so nostalgic and so awesome to see Yoda come and just treat this old Jedi master like
one last lesson.
One last lesson or the next lesson. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Oh, and the quote at the end before he goes away.
Yep.
That is the burden of the master is for the apprentice to become the new master. Do you remember what he said? Something like that?
It was something like that, yeah. I unfortunately
I
don't
loved
remember.
that. That was awesome. Speaking of cutting off limbs, There was a lot more death in this one.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness! It really felt like it did feel like Empire.
Well, I mean, with Carrie Fisher being dead, every time it seemed like her life was under threat, I thought, okay, she's gonna die.
Yeah.
I thought they were just gonna she's gonna die eventually, and poof, done. But they didn't. It's just like, this is like, every time it was a big letdown for me.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was just like, she's gonna die. Yeah, no. But I liked the fact that at the very beginning, you don't feel safe. Nobody feels safe because they all die. Everyone in that bombing fleet dies.
Yeah.
And
it made it a very, very dark film.
I wouldn't say very, very dark. It's darker for Star Wars. It's very dark for Star Wars.
I mean, Empire wasn't very, very dark, but when you compare them, they're about the same level.
I would say it's more realistic.
So more dark.
Sure. No, it felt nice to know. I mean, this sounds really weird, but it felt nice to know that the characters aren't safe. Like, they could die at any moment.
If all the characters are invincible, it takes momentum.
Well, that's what Marvel's dealing with right now. Like, you have all these movies coming out, and you know everybody's going to be in Infinity Wars. So, cool. I mean, they're developing a plot. I know that, but it's just like you don't feel anybody's at risk.
Right
now.
Yeah, Star Wars did a really good job with it.
And like that fight scene with Rey and Kylo, dude, that was amazing. That hands down beats Maul versus Obi-Wan.
Oh.
Hands down. Yeah. Dude.
I'm not saying that it was bad. It was certainly amazing. The way I could say it is, it's the most refreshed that I felt from a lightsaber duel since I've experienced Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. Because you watch that for the first time, and you're like, this is lightsaber duel. Especially, there was nothing before that except for like the
standing,
very
like
old England style, like knights fighting kind of more slow paced lightsaber duels. And so you see, what Darth Maul can do, and that whole sequence. Then you add John Williams in there with the Duel of the Fates, and like, it's very hard to recreate that feeling. And I do feel like it was recreated for me. Going into this one, seeing that fight today, emotionally, it was weighty, and again, didn't feel like the character was safe. With the exception of Rey. But even then, I was like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna do something crazy? Who knows?
Well, I felt Kylo was safe.
I'm still not,
because there always has to be a Sith. There always has to be a Jedi. There always has to be a master, and there always has to be an apprentice. Question is, who's the master now, and who's the apprentice? Like, what's the next step? And that's where I think that end scene, that very, very last scene with the boy pulling the broom.
That was awesome. Everybody in the theater too. It was so subtle, but everyone caught it.
Yeah,
no one missed it. It was just, but no, it was amazing.
The question is, who's he going to? I mean, he has a rebel ring on right now.
Yeah. To me too, that might have even. Who knows if it's going to be an actual character? But
I hope they do.
I hope they do.
I really, really do.
But I would still be satisfied if it was just like a metaphor.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that same kid.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't even remember his face. Like, when they showed his face, I was like, "Oh, is that one kid?" I don't remember. Yeah. But he that's another key plot point that I think is them passing Star Wars on to the next generation.
Yeah.
Because I can see little kids, little boys.
Y'all go ahead. I ain't make sure I'm in your view this time.
Thank you. I can see little boys looking at that and saying, "That's me. I'm the next Jedi."
Or little girls.
Or little girls, whatever. It was a little boy in the movie. And I could see them projecting themselves onto that character and saying, "That's me. I'm the next Jedi. I'm the next Luke. I'm the next Rey."
Yeah, and Luke being a legend, but seeing that Luke was, you know,
Oh, and I love what they did with
but,
like the legend narrative.
Oh.
How they're saying, you know, they're not necessarily trying to be a legend at that point. They're just trying to get the job done. They're trying to do what's right. Like with Finn, he's like, oh, I'm no hero. I'm nothing special. I just did what I was supposed to do at that point.
Yeah.
But from an outsider's perspective, you are a legend. You are a hero. And then what was her name? The Asian chick? Rose. And then Rose saving his life, and she becomes a hero. And she wasn't even trying to. She was just doing what was right. And I like the fact that they played that narrative.
And it was so simple to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, save your life, dummy.
Right.
Duh. And it was that whole point about saving what we love instead of destroying what we hate.
Oh, I loved that. Yes.
There were some powerful lines in here. Like the dialogue was not cheesy. It did not. Nothing. Like I said, nothing felt forced about it.
Can I be honest?
Yo.
I hated the pogs. I hated those things so much.
You
and then the scene where Chewbacca's about to eat one of them, and they're all sitting there crying.
No, that was good.
I was like,
don't listen to this guy. The pogs.
That was probably the funniest part of the pogs. But I was conflicted. I didn't know if they were begging him for.
We will. Give it a second. We'll finish.
Talk about Rey's origin. Okay, we'll get back to that in a minute.
Yep.
But I couldn't tell if they were begging him for food, like I'm hungry, feed me, or if they were saying, "Oh, you're eating my cousin."
Yeah, eating my cousin. Yeah. You know what? The pogs were not overused. They were like
they were comic relief.
Comic relief, and it wasn't overused. Like that's all. Like they were in a few key scenes, and then they were established. They're on the Falcon. So then every time there was a Falcon. You know, after that, you saw something with them, but they didn't like throw the pogs in your face like merchandise.
Well, I mean,
we're going to sell this as a toy. Love it. You know,
they did throw one against a window at one point.
Yeah, but they threw Thor against like 2 windows, and you didn't have a problem with that.
It's because it's Thor.
It's a pog. Pogs are adorable.
Well, no, I wasn't referencing as a bad thing. I was just saying, like, they did literally throw it out a window.
You've seen the movie? Like, we're talking about spoilers?
Well, no, we've gone past the whole spoiler thing, so, yeah.
So it's... You know what? I'm not convinced that Kylo's statement was correct.
No.
I think that he's lying to her, or just generalizing in some way. Like, maybe he doesn't know, actually.
I don't think he actually knows.
I don't. Either he doesn't know, or he asserted like you're on a desert planet. Obviously, your parents are just junk traders or something like that.
I think he was trying to play a mind game with her.
Yeah. Like Snoke was with him.
Oh, dude, Snoke made a huge mistake.
I saw when he did that. I was like, oh, he's dead.
God. Like as soon as he said, "Oh, I used him as a pawn," I was like, "Oh, you are an idiot. That was stupid to say that right in front of him."
He's pretty confident.
But I feel like that could be her origin story, though.
It could,
and the reason being
believable.
What is a common theme in all Star Wars movies? Great things coming from small places.
Farm boy, junk girl.
Yoda's 4 foot
Yoda,
nothing and being one of the most
small. Yeah.
Spoil it, I think.
Spoil it, thanks.
I mean, we told
problem.
you, so yeah.
Basically,
if you're upset, that's your fault.
Basically, so yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, Ray straight up says your parents sold you, or
Kylo
who did I say?
You said Ray. Kylo says to Ray, your parents were basically just junk traders that sold you for booze.
Yeah, for
and
alcohol.
He says you're from nowhere, you're nothing. And I do think either he knows and he's lying, or he doesn't know and he's playing a mind game. Either way. And in the small chance, or in the chance, whatever how small it is, that it's the truth, it wouldn't be unbelievable. Like the actress Daisy Ridley did talk about something when she was being questioned heavily about her origin back when Force Awakens came out. She basically said, I know where Rey's parents come from. I don't see... I think it's kind of obvious, and I don't think it's too big of a deal. So I don't know if that's... because her saying that about it does make sense with the theory that Kylo was right, is telling the truth, that her parents are just junk traders, and her parents will never be introduced.
I think what's important is that it's established she is not related to Luke.
Yep.
And she's not related to Han. She's not related to any of the characters from the original trilogy.
It was not... Obi-Wan was not spoken about at all.
True.
He was not spoken about. I thought that they would at least bring him up or talk. They didn't talk about him. They when they talked about her origin and stuff, not her, but Ben's origin and stuff. They talked about Solos, but they didn't mention anything about the Kenobis. So it doesn't mean that it's not like that theory. No. We don't think that Palpatine's involved still.
Yeah, they don't even acknowledge where Snoke comes from either.
No,
they don't.
Yeah, which makes me think that we haven't seen the last of him necessarily. I'm not sure. They did show him there.
You think he was maybe a Force figure like Luke was at the end?
They showed him really up close.
True.
With but again, with the whole Force, what they're able to do with the Force, and seeing as how he was able to see so much into the future and able to use the Force so effectively, I wouldn't be surprised if any number of things could happen that he would extend his life.
But I kind of hope they leave Rey's story where it is now. Reason I say that, unanswered, because I think she would do better as a character to just let it go, and it's a story of. It doesn't matter what your past was. It's what you're doing now that matters. And I feel like that would be a really interesting narrative, but I could see them selling more tickets, to be honest, if they do like a Rey origin story type deal. Not an origin story because we know her origin story, but like what happens with her family,
right,
or where she comes from. So I could see that selling more tickets.
Either way, either she could remain completely originless. We could just roll with that. I would enjoy it. She could be like, oh, that she's a Kenobi, and bring in some crazy stuff with Ahsoka and her, maybe if she has a sister or something. Who knows? They could do anything like that, and I would be happy with it. But no, they still did not establish exactly what it is for sure. They said she was just a nobody from nowhere, junk traders.
And I would be okay with that.
Do we believe it? Doesn't matter at this point. Everything's going to be speculation.
I don't think your friends are showing up.
The point is that they're sitting right here.
No, the other two dudes.
Exactly. My friends showed up. Anakin. I personally go with the Anakin was the chosen one after all, and he brought balance to the Force both times. Both when the Jedi Order was like too full of itself, and he kind of brought it low, and then coming back and taking the Emperor down, and letting it balance come back.
Are you referring to who's the chosen one right now? Or are you referring to was he actually the chosen one at that point? Like what? Yeah, I'm not, because
I think Anakin was the chosen one. They're talking about the prophecy.
Oh yeah, if you're talking about the prophecy from the original well, that's not necessarily from the original trilogy. But that one specifically, yes. Now, I'm not sure about if anybody's the chosen one right now. I honestly think that's over. That whole, the prophecy and everything, I think that's all over. But I could be wrong. Because there's no one that's a chosen one right now. You could say Rey is, because she's I like her vulnerability to the Force. Her vulnerability and innocence to the Force, because like when she was training with Luke, he said you just went right in and you didn't even hesitate or try to stop yourself. And I connect that to somebody that's innocent, doesn't necessarily know right from wrong at this point, and just wants to investigate and understand it more. So,
yeah.
I feel like that is Rey at this point. Is she's so new to this that she's very vulnerable with the Force and very open with it.
Yeah, I feel cool over there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I didn't need all these, I see.
Yeah, I don't think they're showing.
I was just saying what they had. Y'all know her. And if y'all had it, they ain't right. They ain't right.
So, anyways, we can sit here and talk theory all night.
Theory for hours, yeah. So the essentials are: the movie was solid.
It was good.
A lot of strong points, a lot of smooth dialogue. It was amazing. CGI was good. It was just a good experience. Star Wars has always been that fantasy, and it's always really good to see something just let you be involved, ensued in the fantasy.
Rey knowing how to use the Force without being trained.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes with the whole vulnerability thing that I just mentioned, because she's so open to the Force right now that she doesn't necessarily have to try to use it. But on top of that, the Force is going to use her the way that, if you're open to it, it's going to use you the way that you want to be.
So
it wants to use you.
Their theme was clearly balance.
Mm-hmm.
So Snoke even said, I thought Luke Skywalker was going to come up. He knows that when darkness rises, light will rise to meet it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that, and he was expecting Luke. Didn't happen. It's something else. And then the title and theme and Rey's involvement with Force Awakens, that happens. It awakens in her, and then she quotes it in this one, saying, "It awoke in me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do with it. I need guidance." And he does. He guides her. So it was well done.
So I don't know if that answers your question there, but yeah, the Force. She doesn't necessarily have to be trained if the Force is the one that's guiding her to make decisions and do what she's doing. And that's kind of the magic of the Force, and I'm glad they kind of got back to that, rather than like when they talked about midichlorians and all that. I was just like, oh, you're taking away from the mysticism behind Star Wars. So yeah,
over 20,000. It's over 9,000 midichlorians.
So I'm glad they kind of got back to that mystic part of it,
yeah,
which is kind of nice, because
they even called it a religion.
Yeah, they did. They straight up did. So,
and Yoda even said like the books aren't that great of a read.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah. They're not much of a page turner, are they?
Page turner, huh? But he's like, they're burned, but you read them. Also, and also you understood, and you understand, and also Rey.
It's in Rey. Yeah.
Well, you don't need this. Let it go.
Which is awesome, because she's just like, yeah, I know this from somewhere. I don't know how I know, which is obviously the Force giving her that knowledge and wisdom right off the bat, just as the Force.
By the way, can I just talk about for a second how hands down, straight up badass Luke Skywalker is, and how pleased I am about that. Like, so very, very pleased.
Dude, I loved that scene. That whole scene where he, like... I mean, did you call it at all? Like, when did you notice that he was just a Force?
Oh, when he took his head off.
Yeah, when you saw, like, there was, like, no gray in his beard and he had shorter hair.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like the whole, the crowd was oblivious to that. Because, like, when he finally revealed, when they finally revealed that he was just a Force being.
No, she's not.
No, Rey is not a Sith Lord. Period. End of story. No.
She seems to be dead set on still like this good versus bad,
But I think she's more of doing the just what's
what's needed.
Best.
What's best and what's needed.
Not necessarily saying, like, because with Yoda, it was only good, just good, nothing but just good. And she's like, well, I mean, this is going to be best for this scenario and this situation, so can't we bend the rules a little bit just to, get a better outcome? So I think she's kind of graying the line there, which I kind of like.
The gray. I like how you said gray. Back to the balancing, Journal of the Wills. I don't know if you're into all that, but I read the entire thing.
But yeah, it felt like the crowd was really surprised when he was revealed as being just a Force being at that point. Like he was projecting himself in the Force. It felt like the crowd was like just caught off by that, and I loved it.
The thing is, I always suspend my belief about that kind of thing. I wasn't sure, and sometimes I feel like I'm not meant to know for sure until they reveal it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, he was able to physically touch things. He dropped something in her hand. He held her hand. Other people saw him. Because I was like, nope, this is another projection. They've been doing it the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And then, no, other people saw him, talked about him, saw that he was there. And then, then they're like, other people were talking about him. Poe was talking about him. And so then I was like, well, maybe it's just, because he had to travel there, so maybe he got ready. Like, maybe, who knows? Like, maybe he's...
Well, I mean...
But he was still able to affect things physically. A lightsaber was able to connect with another lightsaber. So no, it was a very, very powerful Force influence of some kind.
Yeah, some of the clues. First off, the beard.
The beard was it.
Second off, for me, was, okay, he got into this cave without telling them, hey, there's a back entrance over here that I came in through. Third thing was, he had a lightsaber that was just destroyed 5 minutes before, because that was the same lightsaber that Kylo and Rey was fighting over, and it split in half, remember?
Well, I'm not sure if he created a new one or not. If he can also conjure just straight up with the Force weapons, that's awesome.
And then the final thing that just absolutely confirmed it for me was when they focused on his feet. He didn't leave any footprints.
Yeah,
because it was like a red rock with salt on top of it.
They did it on purpose for us to know.
And I like those all just led me to believe, okay, he's definitely not actually there.
Right before Kylo swung his lightsaber,
I was like, oh, he's not dead. Should I
heard
feel
somebody
worried?
say, "Oh, not this crap again," talking about Obi-Wan.
Oh, where he just like.
Yeah,
his
it
clothes
just
drop.
And then it goes through him, and that person was just like silent. They didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Kylo was like the audience at that point, like, wait a second, and like poke, nothing still. And then everyone, including Kylo and the audience at the same time, both realized like But the way they revealed it, even though they gave you the clues and they didn't obviously mean to trick you.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah,
they let it be a cinematic experience, a very visual, awesome transition.
The Empire wants you.
Yep, I read that.
I've not read that.
It's I don't remember if it's part of the original storyboard or if it's just in a book. I don't remember.
I would have hated that.
It's kind of interesting.
It'd probably be interesting, but like, I don't know, like the fact that they have just a clone army in general kind of bothers me a little bit, but whatever. You got to come up with bodies somehow. But overall, the movie was really, really good. I enjoyed it.
I feel like Luke isn't done. I feel like Snoke isn't done.
I want them to be done. I mean,
who knows?
There's enough for them to be able to kind of make a spin that they could come back in the future, but I kind of want them to be done because I want them to move the franchise on. Because
I'm okay with Luke coming back just like Yoda did.
Oh, and like stuff like that, that's fine. But I'm meaning like coming back as a serious character.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, who knows? Who cares? Like, you could have wants and desires. Every true Star Wars fan is entitled to both love and hate anything about the actual Star Wars, because it's not just Lucasfilms or George Lucas's or Kathleen Kennedy's or Disney's. It's everybody's. And so there's going to be things that people love and hate about it and want or not want from future films. The point is, though, like, whatever they do give you is what it is. And it was good. It was very good.
Anyways.
Luke is a badass. That's all I wanted. I got exactly what I wanted from this film. Like, he did a few things that were really cool leading up, and then it was like one of those, it was very Optimus Prime activating his full power. Like not held back at all, and just seeing what he can do, and then with the whole projection thing, making it even more like, wait, what if he was actually there? Not having to use all that energy to project himself, like, in Empire, Yoda, he like lifts up the ship and shows him what's powerful or possible. In this one, I feel like, even though they didn't show it, I feel like Luke could have lifted up the island and just transported the physical island through space with the Force easily.
Oh, man.
He's like, it's just an island and it's only a few million light years.
Rey believed Luke's training, or did she fail?
They actually helped each other in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, like, she failed. I wouldn't say that, like, there was... I wouldn't say there was any actual official training, because There were
3 lessons that he gave her, and she underwent all 3 lessons. And it's not like he wasn't pleased with them, because he kept continuing. And, in the end, he was convinced.
But I don't feel like she succeeded either. Not in the way that he was expecting her to do, because the first part was when she was feeling the Force, and she goes down the hole, and he was not expecting her to do that, and in his eyes that is a failure, because that's somebody that's automatically just wanting to go to the dark side at that point. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it, and I feel like that's in his eyes a failure because it wasn't what he was looking for, but it's a different type of success for her because it's something that she discovered on her own. And in doing so, I love the symbolism behind that scene where she goes down the hole, and like she says, well, I was looking for something, and it turned out to not be what I was looking for, which I feel like that's what happened to Anakin. He went down the dark side looking for a way to save lives, to bring life back. Also, and he didn't find it there.
It was also a mirror of Luke's training on Dagobah.
Oh, when
he went into the cave and he saw himself in the dark side. And that's what happened to her in a very different way.
Yeah. I loved the symbolism behind that scene entirely.
Because we were all wanting to see who her parents were.
And they didn't give it to us.
Or they did.
She's her own parents?
Don't read too far into it. But basically, one key scene and hate leads to, anger? Fear leads to... Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads
to suffering.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Yeah. But no, the one key scene talking about the lessons, because like I said, they both learned things. And obviously, Luke's, this was like the epitome of Luke's learning as well. Yoda helping with that. You have Luke's master coming and helping him, and then her helping Rey to help herself even. Because even if it wasn't what he intended to teach, she still learned from it. And the key scene is where he says, I failed Kylo. And she says, you didn't fail Kylo. Kylo failed you, and I won't. And then she doesn't. Because she, like him, leaves to go face Kylo Vader and doesn't fall to the dark side. There is a balance. She really does try, too.
Even though he tries really, really hard.
Really hard. really hard, and I was very pleased with it. Her reaction, because like it wasn't ultra like
I'm superior to you because I am good.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I am
that.
the perfection of, or the epitome of perfection and good.
Yeah, it was like gray versus gray. It truly,
Because
both of them.
He was, you know, literally turning from the dark side at that point.
They were both split.
And it was that moment that they both chose their path at that point.
Yep. So we essentially saw like in two characters like the choosing. It was almost like
they helped each other choose.
A coming of, you know, how Kylo becomes a Sith and how Rey becomes a Jedi, all in the same moment. Yeah, it was pretty powerful. Also, Luke is a badass.
Anyways, this has been
super badass.
a long enough video because I think this has like been a half hour.
I like what Luke did, you know, as a whole, better than Vader's scene in Rogue One. It was more badass.
Oh, where Vader force chokes the dude.
No.
Wait, which scene?
Where Vader goes through the hallway of Rebels.
Oh, that scene. Yeah.
Because that scene was really good, and we need more of that. But no, Luke was badass.
Was Rey smart, young fool only at the end? Do you understand?
Young fool only at the end.
I don't know what that means. Do you get that?
So was Rey smart is the question, and then the reference is explained, right? By saying young fool only at the end. Young fool only at the end of this movie?
I don't know what that
Last
means.
Jedi? No, I don't understand. Rey was smart, very smart throughout the whole thing. She was very pragmatic about everything. She would question things, seek knowledge, you know, and then when confronted with whatever it was, she would make decisions. And no, she was a well-rounded, very intelligent character.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I wouldn't characterize her as a fool at all. I mean,
No.
naive maybe, because she's still new to
learning.
it all.
Yeah, she's an apprentice.
Return of
Very,
the
very,
Jedi.
very powerful apprentice. But no, like I said, she's confronted with an issue, she deals with it.
With as many resources as she has at her disposal.
Yes. Including Luke.
But
Who is a badass, by the way.
I don't know what he's referencing there with Return of the Jedi. Is he referencing this as the Return of the Jedi, or are you referencing the movie Return of the Jedi? I think you're being very ambiguous. I'm not liking this.
Well, if he's talking about the movie Return of the Jedi, are you like comparing Rey to Luke? Or if you're talking about the Return of the Jedi in general, in this movie, yes, she is. Luke specifically says that he is no longer the last Jedi. She is a Jedi, and he sees it as a good thing at the end of the movie.
And I see. I mean, there are a lot of parallels between he and Rey as far as their training and coming up and all that. So
Yeah, he took the Obi-Wan role. He did. It wasn't quite as smooth as it was for Obi-Wan when he trained. With Obi-Wan, it was almost like he almost just knew exactly what was going to happen and had like these specific, well laid out segments for how Luke was going to be trained, even at an old age.
Well, I think that's because Obi-Wan had so much time between his failure and Luke that he was able to learn from it, whereas I feel like there wasn't enough time between his failure with Kylo and when Rey pops up, because he still feels like he hasn't learned anything from it and that he's just going to fail. So, anyways, we're going to sum all this up because it's getting late and we've been doing this for a long time, and this is going to be a really long video. So
it's a good thing I have such a sexy face.
Yeah.
They have something to look at while we talk about how much of a badass Luke Skywalker is.
Sure. Luke was a Jedi like his father. Got his lightsaber. The Emperor shot lightning at him.
Oh no, she tries to kill him straight up. So talking about like her versus Snoke. Yeah, she got sort of similar situation, but she was just like, no, lightsaber, and the lightsaber like goes around
because he
Snoke
like
was like
diverts it.
Nope. But then like she tries again later, and then she tries with Kylo's lightsaber, like, and then no, she just she was spunky.
When it came down to it, it came to a trick of the minds. It came down to a trick of the minds.
Yes, it did.
Because he thought he was reading Kylo's thoughts perfectly, which he was, but he was just misinterpreting it. Yeah,
you're about to kill your true enemy. Oh god! Oh, I got that. I got that one wrong.
But you're welcome, Ryan. Yeah, thanks for chatting with us.
Yep.
We're gonna get off of here because it's late. And
Peace.
Yeah,
we'll
talk to you guys later.
Peace.
But have a good night. Talk to you guys later. Bye.